Now, a blogger in the Maldives who argued the case for liberal secular views has been stabbed to death outside his apartment. Yameen Rasheed, who was 29, wrote an online feature called The Daily Panic, satirising Muslim extremism and the politicians who support it. It's the latest incident to raise fears about the stability of the Maldives, islands in the southern Indian Ocean that are best known as an international tourist destination. Here he is now speaking to fellow liberal blogger and broadcaster Muju Naeem in February on a video chat on YouTube.
This week in Maldives, weekly roundup from Daily Panic blog headlines. Yameen, Kenneth.
I'm good. I had a crazy week myself. Let's dive into it.
Well, I've been speaking to his friend Muju Naeem, who is in exile already because of fears about his own safety. He didn't want to say which country he was in. What was his reaction to Yameen Rasheed's murder?
It was unbelievable. I saw a tweet saying that Yameen has been murdered, and then I looked at it and it was an article on one of the local papers, and then I just sort of, it was like the floor just got pulled under me. And I just couldn't believe it. You know, Yameen and I have been regularly talking, and we've been doing a YouTube web video series about his blog posts, a roundup of things that's happened in the country every week. And we sort of had a companion blog video podcast with the book series. And the last I spoke to him was day before yesterday, and he was actually getting ready to provide me a supporting letter because I am seeking asylum. I'm currently a UNHCR asylum seeker.
So you fear for your own safety?
It's my 5th year in self-exile at the moment. I'm under advisement by the US Embassy in the country that I'm located in at the moment.
Why do you think that Yameen Rasheed was targeted?
Yameen has been a very vocal voice about political issues and the rising extremism, and he was particularly concerned about extremism, and as a human rights activist and a secularist, he was very much focused on dealing with the rising trend of extremism, because it's not only in Syria and Iraq this is happening, it's happening in all over the world. And so we were very extremely concerned about this, and it was part of our ongoing dialogue between us in our web video series and in our social media activism as well.
Even in what most people view as the holiday paradise of the Maldives.
Yes. Speaking of Maldives being a holiday paradise, I think very much we must be very clear what kind of paradise we're talking about. It's a tourism apartheid country where tourists arrive at the airport and is whisked away to the resort, never to experience what the locals are going through, and they pay with dollars, and they don't have to exchange their currency into the local currency as well. So it's a tourism apartheid country. What the tourists don't see is how we are suffering in the country. And it's extremely sad that the money is being fueled into the 1% that controls the economy, and these people are also part of the political problem. They may not be part of the religious extremism problem, I don't think, but the extremism problem is now well documented as being infested in the Maldives Police Service and the MNDF as well. Their approach is to take the country from within the system, very much like what the Muslim Brotherhood is trying to do. So they have the two fringe groups who are visibly radical with the beards and everything, and then there are the suit-wearing Muslim Brotherhood types who are infiltrating the government and the system within. We cannot trust the system in the Maldives. As a result, we'd like international cooperation to deal with the problem and investigate the murder of Yameen.
Clearly, it's a dangerous business being an independent, secular journalist in the Maldives at the moment. There's a track record.
Yes, it is. You know, if nobody's doing this work, then we'd already lost the country by now.
Blogger Muju Naeem talking about his friend Yameen Rasheed, who's been stabbed to death. Well, our South Asia editor Charles Haviland joins me in the studio. Charles, he's set that in some context, but what's the political surround to this? Have this or previous governments done anything about threats to bloggers?
Well, just to give background, this is a Sunni Muslim country where to be seen as secular or to even describe yourself as secular can be extremely dangerous these days, contrary to what tourists might see as the man alluded to. It's also a country where political repression has grown since the 2013 election. The election itself was interfered with by the judicial system and by the armed forces before eventually coming to the conclusion that elected President Abdullah Yameen. In terms of the threats to bloggers and journalists, perhaps the most prominent recent example, other than Yameen Rasheed, who's now been killed, was a journalist, Ahmed Rilwan, who disappeared nearly 3 years ago and has vanished without trace. The family of Ahmed Rilwan accused the authorities of letting the main suspect flee the country a few months later. Mr. Yameen himself complained several times to the police that he was getting death threats. He even retweeted some of the death threats he was getting, and it seems he was given no protection.
There's been a call from a former president for an inquiry with international help into this. What are the prospects of that happening?
Yeah, that call came from ex-President Mohammed Nasheed, the last president but one, who was the first democratically elected president of the country. He himself is now in exile, having left the country for medical reasons after getting a long prison sentence. And I think his call for international involvement will be ignored, probably, because he is always tarred with the brush of working hand in glove with the international community, with Western countries, which are traditionally or have been seen as allies of the Maldives, but with which the current government is now putting a bit more of a distance of itself. So I don't think that will gain very much currency within. However, it will be supported by others from outside. Amnesty International, within the past hour or so, has issued a statement, not necessarily calling for international help here, but strongly denouncing the killing and saying that this is a wake-up call to the authorities to take threats seriously.
Charles, thank you. Charles Havland, our South Asia editor there.